Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We rented movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feedback bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie.
And I'm Sweetie.
It's Hook Day, guys. It's Hook Day.
What day?
Hook, 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 hook. Rufio, Rufio, Rufio. We stayed away from this movie for quite a couple years.
Just call it the tank of snakes that we walked by several times and then made grossed out faces at, and we're like, ugh. But then finally, when the fire had gotten too big and there were no more pets to save, we had to go in and save those damn snakes.
Yeah, we just had to do it. And you know what? This movie is not. It's not a horrible movie. Like, it's just not my favorite at all. And I'll tell you why. One word. Boring.
Boring.
It's just kind of boring. It's not a bad movie. I just don't find it that appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go into why, but
there's several discussions.
if you like this movie, rock the fuck on. Like, good for you. I totally support you 100%. I will be behind you. I will be pushing you on and be like, good for you. I'm not like upset at you that you think this is a good movie or think you're less of a large marger, which I'm just calling our fans large margers now.
No, sweeties. They're all
Sweetie Club,
sweeties.
Sweetie Club.
Just sweeties.
I phrase large marger. You know what? Like, I totally think this is a solid movie to get behind. Personally, for me, not for me.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it's Sweetie and I talked about it a little bit whilst the movie was still playing.
Because we were bored.
And we broached a lot of interesting topics about maybe why that is. And we'll get into it, obviously. But I know a lot of people love this movie. And so it makes me sad that we don't. And I don't know. I honestly, even though we talked about it, I still don't really know why.
Yeah.
It's like a mystery. It's one of the world's, biggest mysteries next to why Selena received a weird, ugly egg ring, which is now solved. So that's not a mystery anymore.
Yeah. And I think
B, is Amelia Earhart still alive? Spoiler. No.
I think they finally cracked that one. BTW. But yeah, I think for me, and like I feel like we talked about this a little bit with E.T., that Steven Spielberg making children's movies is not, I just don't think it's totally in his wheelhouse.
Interesting.
I just don't think it works, Steve, whatever you go by. S squared.
I believe it's Stevie.
Stevie
Spiels.
Stevie Spiels.
Get it right.
Yeah, because I was like, I forgot something. Oh, I'd seen the post, and I was talking about the Steven Spielberg oeuvre, if you will.
Does that mean eggs in French?
Something like that. Basically, your collection of films, right? Or your work, your body of work is what an oeuvre means. The Steven Spielberg oeuvre. There's, I can name my top ones right now. I'll tell you right now. Jurassic Park.
Whoa.
Jaws.
Shocker.
I'm forgetting what my third one was. Minority Report. That's excellent.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, totally. Now I can't remember like what other
You just
ones.
said 3, so you're done.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Duh. Okay, that's definitely third.
You're okay.
So, and like the post was great. It was like classic Spielberg. And now Spielberg makes these like great movies that are just great because they're Spielberg and they're a great B+ movie, but they're not doing anything like super wow,
Mm-hmm.
It's like a solid Bridge of Spies. That was a great movie. Great performances. He always gets great actors, right? And he's like good at directing them. So I think he makes like really good films. But I just don't think between this and E.T., even though E.T. is great. Remember when we talked about that, how we were like, is this a kid's movie?
Oh, that's the one?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's been other ones too, but
Sure.
Right. I think that he is still fucked up from his childhood.
Right. Isn't that always a theme
And
with
because
him?
he
Daddy
had a bad
stuff?
dad,
Daddy issues?
he still can't like really let go of
Yeah.
things and doesn't fully commit to the children's aspect of movies or something. That could be why. I'm just spitballing, but like that could be why. Based on my psychology minor, I think that's correct. And which
Well, what are his other bad dad movies?
every movie he's ever made. Jurassic Park. Dennis and Nedry's bad dad. Hello. No, it doesn't count. Just kidding. He doesn't have one. Okay, the other one is E.T. Dad doesn't exist.
No
There's
dad.
usually either bad dad
Or
or
no
no
dad.
dad.
Okay.
Indiana
Jones.
Jones,
Yep.
Henry Jones, Daddy, Ish Hughes. Fucking...
You got to like look through it because sometimes I'm like,
I know.
I forget what movies
I know,
fucking
I know,
Steven Spielberg
I know.
has done, and then
It's
you
a
read the list, you're like,
little-
oh yeah, that one, that one, that one.
It's chalky. It's
Yeah.
chalky.
Okay. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, Close Encounters.
Don't remember. Also boring.
Also boring. So boring. Is that a kid? I mean, it's not for kids. It's like
Kids
oh,
movie.
like aliens, man.
Kid goes out the doggy door. All you need
Munich.
to know.
Come on. Bad
Didn't-
dad.
Didn't see it. Oh, I did see it, but not really.
I hate when they start with fucking producer on IMDb.
No, you have to click on the director tag
No, no, no.
filter.
all filmography. Director.
Then director. You press producer. You're not getting all those other ones.
Okay. So we know the first one. Okay, so Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Color Purple, Empire of the Sun,
Never seen it.
Last Crusade,
Seen
Hook,
it.
Jurassic Park, Schindler's List,
Nazis.
Lost
Different.
World, Jurassic Park,
Still dinosaurs. Maybe
Amistad.
dead issues. Slavery. Different.
Saving Private Ryan,
I mean,
AI. I mean, I don't think he's done a ton of Bad Dad. I mean, he's basically
one of his-
split between Bad Dad and historical stuff now.
but it's definitely one of his like trademarks.
yes, no, and I've heard that too.
things.
I've heard that too. I mean, he said it.
I think I said it. Maybe I said it.
Wait, did you just say it?
Is it a thing?
Yeah.
Is this the cutting
Anyway.
edge again? Oh,
Let's go back to Hook.
okay.
Here we go. Hook from 1991. We may have seen this in theaters. We're not sure. I probably fell asleep.
I was going to say it probably wasn't memorable for us because we don't remember.
Yeah.
We
Great.
don't have like a story attached
No,
to it.
we
So
don't.
I don't know.
Hell of a cast, though.
Yes.
You have to say, and for me, completely saves the movie because there's some great, I think, well, some people would say overacting. I would say some stellar performances for me from some of my favorite people. Robin Williams. Can't go wrong. However, we'll discuss why maybe not his greatest role. Dustin Hoffman.
Dusty.
Fabulous turn as Captain J.A.S. Jazz.
I was like, or as I like to call him, Jazz Hook.
Jazz Hook. Captain. Awesome.
You know what I thought it was? I thought it was like Esquire, like ESQ. I thought it was like an abbreviation for captain. I was like, oh, I get it. I get it.
Confusion.
It's
Yeah.
just James. It's just
Yeah.
an abbreviation
It's
for
just
James.
James.
because James is too long to say, so you need an abbreviation.
So weird.
Please write the two other letters, please.
Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins
is me.
one of our
my
faves.
favorite. Fucking amazing. I
think
love
he's the
that
best.
guy. He's adorable.
Other than Dame Maggie
Yeah.
Smith,
Dame Maggie Smith,
who
kills
is
it.
a fucking treasure.
Yep.
I
She's
can't-
So good.
I just when she's got those like
Give
glassy
that woman
eyes.
all the awards.
Yeah.
All the awards all the time. She's so good.
So good, you guys. And
Melts
she doesn't
my
go to
heart.
award shows because she doesn't care. She doesn't watch her movies because she doesn't care.
Yeah, she doesn't care. She's just doing it because she's
like,
doing
whatever.
it. Yeah, like fuck
Yeah.
you, world.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts. I don't know. I have some trouble with this portrayal of Tank.
They,
The little
they
Tank.
butched her up.
I just I don't know. It just didn't fit for me. Just didn't.
I think
didn't
we
really
just
work.
don't like Tinkerbell in general.
Yeah, and I don't love Julia Roberts either. So that's probably why I do.
And I just don't like short hair.
Well, you know what? It's funny with this because Julia Roberts' hair in this is pretty much identical to like the Shelby like diabetes coma hair.
Wait, was it the same year?
No, I don't think so. Anyways, and you want to say that like people with like Julia Roberts who have like excellent bone structure can like wear any hairstyle? No. Julia Roberts does not look good in a pixie, and it makes me feel so much better because it's like...
But it's not just 1989 with Steel Mags. It's not just a pixie. It's like a bad haircut. It's like if your older sister was like, let's play hairdresser. I mean, well, not that I know from experience.
She also has the ears and like a horrible wardrobe. I mean, dirty feet.
Not really makeup.
It's not
yeah,
really, it's like working
It's
for
not
her.
desirable.
Yeah, it's
for
not
me.
great. And yeah, I think that's it. You know, a lot of child actors who didn't really make it anywhere. Sad. But
cameos, which we'll
oh my
talk
God,
about.
the
Don't
cameos are off the fucking charts, guys. It's like insane. It's like
Don't spoil
this is
it.
what I think happened. Okay, like Steven Spielberg is like getting ready to make this film, and like literally everyone who he saw like over the course of maybe a couple months, you know, he'd run into them and be like, hey, you want to be a Hook? Hey, hey, you want to be a Hook? He's like,
Oh, really?
Oh, you want to be a Hook?
I thought it was less purposeful, and I thought he just like spun a wheel of actors / musicians. And was like,
the
whoever
people
I
on this
pick.
wheel are the most random
I know.
ever, and one of them is hidden. So it's like, what's that about? Was that supposed to be like some sort of Easter egg, Stevie?
I think so.
I'm confused.
I have a lot of questions.
But yeah, so let's jump into the synopsis. It's going to be pretty classic because we mildly hate it. So it's like those are always pretty good. And then we'll dive into like all our amazing theories and thoughts on why we didn't like this movie, et cetera, and so forth. Desmond, not the right toy for tonight. Too loud.
They can't hear it. It's not on the mics.
Are you sure?
It's not like the old days.
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, it's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yeah, sweeties. Bangarang.
Reveal. Peter Banning is in mergers and acquisitions, which, as we all know, I'm pretty sure they can't hear it, sweetie. Calm down. Which, as we all know, is just a term that people who make movies give to people that they want to be fancy and businessy. We need a job. We need a job that's important and that is like really, you know, a lot of money. You got to wear a suit. You got to be a dick. I know. Mergers and acquisitions. So, sweetie, calm down.
It's really distracting. I need to take that away. I'm sorry.
No, it's his favorite ball. He'll get over it in a little bit. Anyway, so Peter Banning is in Mergers and Acquisitions. He is your classic bad dad, always on his fucking cell phone, missing your baseball games, yelling at you for being a kid, telling you to grow up when you're like, Dad, I'm fucking 7 years old. Take a seat. You know? It's just fucking like a never-ending story. Listen, they don't need to grow up yet.
Yeah, it's right. Like,
Let's
who
wait.
need your kids to grow?
Just wait until
Go
they're
up.
teenagers. Hello.
It's super creepy.
It's weird.
It's but
So-
like he's like total opposite end of the spectrum of who a person who would never grow up is. Peter is too grown up.
Yeah.
Like he's never been a child.
Oh, right. Like you can't, like, his daughter's like, smell this flower, and he's like, it's paper, it doesn't smell.
He's like a retort
No
for everything.
imagination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally none.
So he's got a wife. She's British. Moira, which is a really complex word for my mouth to say, and I
Moira.
don't enjoy it. And then 2 children, Jack and Maggie. And it's Christmas. And they're going back to London town. So, question. Peter did not come from London as a baby when he was stolen away.
Yeah, why does he not have a British accent?
I don't know. It's just
because
just adding it to my list of questions.
So the connections start to come about why Peter Banning is related to the Peter Pan story. So they're going to London for Christmas to visit Granny Wendy. Granny Wendy is Wendy from Peter Pan's story. So
Is that the proper name of the story?
Sure.
Peter Pan story?
So, you know, everyone knows J.M. Barrie, famous author, wrote this book called Peter Pan. Or Peter and Wendy. I don't know. That's the book she has, right?
Original copy, OG. So,
Yeah.
before the editor.
So there is this real woman, Wendy, who exists, and she is Peter's, Moira's great grandmother, not great grandmother, and she has this foundation in London that helps orphans. So they go there for Christmas, and you start to realize that Wendy is the Wendy from the Peter Pan stories. So she explains it that J.M. Barrie lived next door to her and her siblings. So that would be Wendy, Michael, and John.
Yes.
And they would make up these stories, quote unquote, make up these stories about this place called Never Neverland, an evil villain called Captain Hook, and this group of boys called the Lost Boys. So J.M. Barrie supposedly took that story and made this book. So he made it,
fucking ripped them off.
Basically ripped them off, gave no royalties. What the fuck? Meanwhile, so Wendy lives her life, and she is involved in making sure all these orphans have homes. So that is where Peter Banning comes in, because apparently Wendy found him. This is the story.
You're jumping way ahead.
Oh, I'm too far ahead.
Anyways, so Peter
Doing what you usually do.
moving along. So Peter, as a curmudgeon, goes to this benefit where they're giving Wendy an award for being a great human or whatever. And then she has a fit because there's a bright green light and something bad happens. And then they come home from the benefit, and there's a smashed door, and then rips along the wall. It looks very violent. It's quite a scary scene. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we won't. But it's pretty scary. And the kids are gone. They're fucking gone. And there's a fucking note in the door with a sword stuck in it that says, guess what, Peter? Stole your kids. Paraphrasing.
Yeah,
but
Never.
it's, signed Jas Hook.
That's still so weird to me. And why did they choose to use the Jas? That's confusing to everyone. I can't imagine a 7-year-old be like, who the hell is Jas?
Jas Hook.
I mean, you get it because obviously Hook, and then they do say Captain, but why just not say James?
So I read that it's a biblical abbreviation or something, and then they also named other examples for John, which is JHN. But come on, just spend a little extra time, add that O in, you're good to go. It's not a big deal. I don't get it. Anyways, so Peter basically thinks some maniac, he still doesn't remember anything, and thinks some maniac stole his kids.
And Phil Collins comes over,
Phil
and he's
Collins is there.
Keep us posted.
He's like, listen, I put on this fake mustache for $20,000. Please, please let me help you find your children.
Phil Collins is a cameo as a police detective. Has maybe 3 lines. It's the most amazing experience of my life.
And is number 5 billed on IMDb. It's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, it's awesome too, because you're and Sweetie turned to me and was like, wait, Phil Collins is British?
I don't know.
I know.
I don't
when
know
people
that
are
stuff.
singers and you don't see them speak a lot, and you don't have an accent when you sing, it's always that kind of weird shock. Or if you ever hear Christian Bale say anything and you're like, wait, he's British?
He's not just British. He's Cockney. Back alley.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of Newsies.
Yeah.
I confused. Anyway, so Grandma Wendy is like, listen, Peter, I got to tell you something. You are Peter Pan. That's you. And he's like, no, you're crazy. And
and Wendy's 95, so
right.
it could
So she's pretty old. She just had a fit.
Yeah, it could totally be that she is a little bit
She probably had a stroke.
dementia-ish. And, Peter is, obviously she's obsessed with this fucking Peter Pan thing. Her house is full of Peter Pan shit. She carries around the book everywhere.
And they know, right, that she's the one that they know that J.M. Barrie lived next door to her and that she is the real Wendy. And then they're like, my dad's name is Peter. That's weird. Right? Put it together. You don't need that many hints to get there.
It's not such a reach.
Right. So he doesn't believe her. He gets drunk, and then this little ball of light comes flying in. It's Tinkerbell, and she's like, Peter, we gotta go save your kids. Thinks she's crazy again. Whatever. He passes out. Tinkerbell throws him in a bed sheet and hauls him off to Neverland. Or is it Never Neverland?
Double never.
So it's always Never Neverland.
Yeah.
You can never just say Neverland.
I
feel like somebody said that.
That's somewhere else.
Okay. What do you mean? Oh, a different place.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So he wakes up in Never Neverland and there's all these pirates around. He's like, what the fuck is this? And he still doesn't believe it, which is like, again, put it together. It's like Indiana Jones. Is this another Steven Spielberg trope? Like not believing something that you've seen crucial evidence
in
for?
the case of Peter, it just is they're trying to hammer home the fact that he has no imagination, right? So like you need to like have a little bit of imagination and think outside of the real world to even be able to contemplate a place like Neverland, right? So I think that's just supposed to like reinforce
All
that.
right. So Captain Hook comes out and turns out he's got Peter's kids. And Peter goes to try to rescue them, and they're like, "Oh my God, Peter Pan, you're back!" But then they realize that he's not Peter Pan; he's some imposter, an impostore, and that he just doesn't remember anything. So they're like, "We don't want to fight you. Like that's not fair. This isn't fun." And Tinkerbell's like, "I'll take 3 days, and we'll get him back to where he is, and then there'll be a fight and blah blah blah, pirate stuff." And so she brings him. Oh, no, sorry. Peter falls off. Was that called the gangplank?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I
it
think
sounds
so.
weird in my mouth.
Do you walk the plank?
The-
The choice
but
is up
the
to you.
Gangplank?
Same thing, I think.
Okay. Just make sure
What
I'm
am
not
I
just
singing?
like making
Yo-ho,
I don't know.
yo-ho.
A Pirate's Life for me?
Yeah. Is that from Peter Pan?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I was
Sorry,
like, well,
we were
what
just
else
like
would it be?
reminiscing how great
Pirates of Penzance?
how great the Disney movie is.
Oh my God, it's so great.
And maybe that's why we don't like this
We'll
one
talk
as
about it
much.
because I love it. You're right.
Yeah.
I do love that. So, so Peter falls off the plank and then drowns, and Tinks tries to save him and doesn't even try, even though she hauled his ass off to Neverland in a sheet. I think she could go
She can't
underwater.
swim. She can't swim. She has wings. It's like a bird diving into the
I guess.
fucking
So
ocean.
she's kind of just like, oh, nuts, and then goes home and falls asleep. But don't worry, because the mermaids come and kiss him. A lot of kissing without consent in this movie, and I would just like to give a PSA. You should always ask for consent before kissing, even if they're probably drowning.
Yeah.
I just think it's a
or
good,
at least
it's good
like make eye
practice.
contact, and if
Right.
the person leans in, like that's when you know you can kiss them. Person's eyes are closed, aka they're sleeping
Or dead.
or dead. Don't kiss them.
Yeah.
Don't kiss them.
Just don't do it. So they save him, and then he goes to the Lost Boys treehouse land, whatever that's called. Does it have a name? I don't think so. And the Lost Boys all wake up, and they're like, Pan's back, Pan's back. But then they quickly realize that he's like a grumpy old man and is not Peter Pan. They're like, what happened to Peter? Me.
Yeah.
And then there's this new guy, Rufio. I mean, he's not new. He's
Well,
been there, but
yeah,
he's decided
he
to kind
took
of take over the head honcho biz of the Lost Boys. His name's Rufio. He's pretty hot.
He's pretty hot.
He likes red and black, and he's hot. So Tink's like, we have to get him in shape. You need to help me. And then they do, and they train Peter Pan to get him, back and try to get him to remember shit. But you guys, you know how long it takes for Peter to remember shit?
An hour and a half.
Yes, actually longer. An hour and 50 minutes, which is an absurd amount of time. But eventually he remembers, and he can fly again. He finds his little green outfit with the tights, and his hair is all crazy. And crucial step to becoming Peter Pan, wears eyeliner and bronzer.
Yes.
So you know it's legit.
Yes, and his hair is all like wild and
Yeah, and
crazy.
he's like, Peter
And then,
Pan now.
so while all this is going on, Captain Hook has this like whole plan because he's really gonna like fight Peter Pan on two fronts, right? He's gonna fight him physically, but he's also gonna fight him mentally by taking his kids away. So he knows like that's gonna be the biggest hit. Because like Captain Hook's kind of smart, and there's like all this like weird research he did on them and like their real life.
Yeah. Was he like stalking them forever?
I don't know. Smee had like a whole like dossier of like what. Like,
Well, he was the park janitor in London, so I guess that's where
it
he
was
got
kind
all
of
that.
weird. So the little girl Maggie has nothing, wants nothing to do with it. Does not get turned. Jack is ripe to be turned. He hates his father already because he doesn't come to his baseball games and yells at him all the time. So, like, sure, like I guess that's a reason to hate your father. Not No, that is not like Jack sucks. I'm sorry. Stupid reason, and that kid is like a whiny little bitch to me. Anyway, so he gets turned like that by Captain Hook and becomes a baby Hook. Becomes a baby Hook, and like, and has no problem being like, whatever, my dad sucks. It was pretty disappointing, but that's like another like third of the movie of like the creation of this baby Hook.
Gotta find the red earring. This one? Nope. This one? Nope. Get on with that Hook.
And just right before they're about to pierce his ear and make him a true pirate, who swoops in his green tights and eyeliner and bronzer?
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
Yeah, he comes, saves the day. The kids are excited. Jack's like, my dad's cool now. Just kidding. And throws off like the Hook stuff, but keeps the weird turtleneck cummerbund. What is that called? The like
lace cravat
on. Doesn't bother to remove that. He's like, I'll keep this. Swag. so
Pirate
then,
swag bag.
He needs his souvenirs.
Thanks for the time, Captain Jass. I'll remember you forever.
Oh my god, I'm never gonna get over that. It's just so crazy. Okay, so then the Lost Boys come, join the fight. There's a big to-do. Their weapon of choice is paint. Question mark. And Rufio dies, and it's really sad. He's like, I'm gonna fight Hook, even though it's like, I feel like he should be better at fighting than he is. I feel like he was a little bit of a letdown for me.
I thought he did good, and he had like basically
such a rookie
he had
mistake.
bone armor on. So first of all, I don't even know why he got stabbed because he had the bone armor. Number two, they basically only killed him so Jack could witness it, and then Rufio goes, I wish I had a father like you, dies, and then Jack like hears that and is like, oh shit, like I do love my father, like, oh Dad, I love you.
No, he liked him before that,
but that like really
when
like
he saw him fly,
hit it home.
I guess.
I feel like that was just a device, and I'm like, fuck. I don't care about Jack. Bring back Rufio.
I felt used.
Rufio.
I felt manipulated. I felt used. But he's dead, and no one seems to care after that. I don't even know if they took his body back to the treehouse. I'm not sure. So he takes his kids home. He's like, "Bye, boys. See ya later. Maybe." Does he even tell them maybe he'll be back? I don't think he does. So he goes back home. The mom's super excited. Granny Wendy's super excited. Obviously, Peter's back. He's all zany now, so everybody's happy. Even though I'm like, okay, this is just Mrs. Doubtfire now. Yes. Because he's too zany, and he's not going to be serious about anything.
Exactly.
So it's like,
who's going to make the money?
Right. Exactly.
Who's going to live, like, make sure they can live their affluent lifestyle and where the fuck they live?
Yeah.
Who's going to pay for your baseball glove, Jack?
Exactly. So that's kind of it. And then Tinkerbell's like, I'll see ya when you're dreaming or whatever. Ooh, I love you so much, which we'll talk about that side plot later. And then, I mean, that's basically it. All is well. And then Smee is a janitor in the park, and you're like, did I just get Wizard of Oz's?
Right.
Wizard
but then
of
Tink
Oz
appears, so then you're like, no, I didn't. So like, what was the point of having Smee as a chimney sweep?
Exactly.
I mean, not a chimney sweep, but a park sweeper.
Which I didn't know was a thing.
Right.
But that's what it is. So that's it. You guys, this movie is 142 minutes long, which is over 2 hours long. That's a really long fucking movie. Here are some movies that are shorter than Hook. The Exorcist, which I feel like is pretty long. It's shorter than this. Vertigo, which we just saw on Sunday in the movie theater. That felt long. It's shorter than this. Steel Magnolias, which has so much emotion. You run the gamut, and that does it in less time than this.
I mean,
and finally, both Kill Bills are each shorter than this.
I think that is another reason why, like, I don't see Steven Spielberg making very successful kid movies, because there's like has to be a rule with like kids can only withstand like so much of a movie before they start getting squirmy wormy. And I think it's definitely under 2 hours.
I think it's an hour and 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the golden time.
So, and like, I'm sorry, like if you're an adult and you're having trouble focusing and you're like, oh my God, this seems so boring. I don't understand. And it's just, it's not even whimsical enough for me to think that like kids would be like that. I mean, clearly we're in the minority because I know like a lot of kids like this movie.
I know, but part of me is like, do they like it because they liked it? But they liked it as kids, so then that theory's kaput.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of it is like, okay, I'm pretty sure that most of us grew up on the Disney Peter Pan cartoon, which you love so much, and we both really love. It's a great, as Sweetie said, an underrated cartoon, one that doesn't really get talked about that much, but is classic and really good. And there's a lot of, great memories from that cartoon. And I don't know if it's like, okay, we all grew up with that, and then there's a live action version of that we were all like super pumped about because you have animation basically being come and brought into like a real life kind of setting, which is really cool. So maybe like part of that is like what like keeps you maybe like interested in it.
Yeah, and I still think so. I shot this theory out there on the old couch when we were watching it. But I felt weird about it because, I think of myself as a feminist, as just a sweetie, as should most women, all women. And unfortunately, in my mind, I was like, well, there's a lot of treehouse in this. And that's just not something that inspires me. It's just not fantastical enough for me. Like, it's just not what I consider magical. It's like little monsters. It's like so much, like, gross.
Yeah.
And gross, but like,
no, that's what I thought. I thought it was mostly just gross stuff that didn't seem like anything fantasy related at all. And like it got like a lot of attention for like the sets and the costumes and like the imagery and stuff like that. And for me, like that's what really fell flat. That part was not exciting to me. I did not think Never Neverland was that great. You're right. It was like a bunch of tree houses, like skateboard parks, like a rusty basketball hoop.
Look at
like,
them on their cool contraptions.
Why is this
is
cool?
This is just sports.
Right. And I don't like, I think that they were trying to make it like Never Neverland is like the real world, but just like a little bit kookier or not grosser. I don't even know if that's like the word. But I don't know. I always envisioned it being much more fantasy-like and out of this world. Yeah. And the world that Steven Spielberg painted for that just didn't seem as like as out of this world for me. It just seemed like, oh, okay, it's like basically the real world, but more tree houses, and people are just like newsies, and they eat like colorful mashed potatoes. I mean, that's like basically. Like
or was it Play-Doh?
I don't know.
Unclear.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree, and it's a strange thing. But I mean, if you truly love this movie, please get in touch with us and like tell us your thoughts, because I would love to hear that from somebody else's point of view, because I think we just like always just were never that enthralled with this for some reason. And again, like I said, I'm not 100% sure why. I got theories, but I don't know if those are right.
Because there's so many great things, as we said. Like there's great actors. The acting performances, I think, are great. Like I think they're awesome.
I do like certain aspects.
Yeah.
I do actually like the beginning part of the movie where you're like,
I like the non-Neverland Neverland parts, and the only Never Neverland parts I like are like basically the scenes with Rufio, and some of the pirate stuff. Like that's it. The Lost Boys stuff, when like Rufio is not there and there's not that tension, like I just don't like love as much. And the boys are really sweet, but it was just boring, and it's like almost too sweet. It was almost like maybe like too saccharine, and you're just like, okay, like I don't know, guys. I'm frustrated.
She is. Okay, so I guess. I mean, so one of my favorite parts, actually, is when these mermaids come and save Peter. I just am like such a girl. I'm like, the mermaids are the best part. I just really enjoy that. Yeah. And I enjoy their hair, and they're all different color. I'm into that. Yeah. Unfortunately, that scene lasts all of like 1 minute, which, what the fuck? Come on. They don't even get lines. They don't even get to be bitchy like in the cartoon.
No. And they just... throw them into their little clamshell elevator.
They're super slutty. They're like, let's all make out with him.
There's a lot of people kissing Peter Pan in this movie.
Which is another weird problem. Okay, so let's talk about the different weird love triangles we have happening here. We have Peter, who fell in love with Wendy first. Yep. Like, that was like his first love. Who was Gwyneth Paltrow, but then turns into Maggie Smith. And he comes back to get her, and she's all wrinkly, and he's like, ugh, and then gets scared, which is really rude.
What kind of message are you sending here? Like, now that I look at it, I'm like, that's kind of bullshit. I mean, like, good for Wendy because she doesn't say, no, I can't go until she's basically a grandmother.
It's true.
So good for fucking Wendy for rocking it for probably till she was like 50 fucking years old. So good for Wendy for keep going Neverland, because I would have been like 28 and I would have been like, Peter, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to your dirty fucking treehouse. I'm not darning your socks for you. I'm not playing with your colorful food.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, Peter. So good for Wendy for fucking rocking it for years.
Yeah.
Number 2, how bullshit is it though that you're like, hey, like been hanging out for like a couple years, and then Peter comes in and is like, hey, who's that chick in the bed? Right. Wendy was there for years.
Not just a couple years. Literally 70 years. 80 years? I don't know. Like, lots of years.
What a diss.
And he's like, oh, let me fall in love with this girl instead. Like, what the fuck? So he falls in love with her daughter, which is weird. Because is Granny Wendy jealous? Do you think she looks at her daughter?
No, that's her granddaughter.
Yeah. Granny Wendy.
Is her daughter.
Oh, her granddaughter, yeah. But is she jealous of her granddaughter? That
I think so.
Yeah. And then there's like that weird tension.
The weird scene where she's like groping Peter's face and she's like, Peter, like, when I got married, I don't know why I'm doing this voice. Peter, when I got married, like I always thought like you would stop the wedding, but you never. I wore a pink sash, but you never came.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. That's weird.
Oh my god, you pink sash.
So she thought he was gonna like swoop in and like stop her marriage. Like, bitch, hell no.
Does anyone object?
Yeah,
I do.
He's too busy playing with the lost boys.
Whoa, okay.
No, I mean, you know how like like men are termed Peter Pan who like won't like grow up and like commit to relationships. Like that's what you call that now. So like, hello, this is where this started. So she obviously was like, did love him. And so there is that scene where she's like grabbing him and is like basically like, why didn't you come and save me from this marriage? Even though I think she did have like a happy life. But where was I going with that?
Okay,
I don't remember.
That's like weird love triangle 1. Number 2, Tinkerbell decides to have a mid-pixie crisis and is like, oh my god, I love you so much. Why don't you see me? And then this causes her to spontaneously grow into a real person. And she's like, this is the only wish I ever wanted for myself. Can we make out? And Peter's like, no. Like, oh yeah, I have a wife. I love her. Yeah. And it's like, see ya. And then Tink gets super upset. Which again, okay. So even though I love the cartoon Peter Pan, it always confused me that Tinkerbell was in love with Peter because she's teeny and he's normal size.
But did you get that from the cartoon?
Yes.
My understanding of it was
super jealous of Wendy.
But was she jealous
she
because
tried to kill her.
No, I know. But was she jealous because like more like she's used to being the only girl around? And I don't know. I just never got like a romantic thing from her and Peter. And I think that's just like stupid that you have to inject that. Like, oh, of course, like it wouldn't be platonic between Tinkerbell and Peter. Like she would have to have a crush on him.
I always thought she did.
Really?
I can't think of any other reason because I mean the mermaids exist. She didn't try to kill them. Like she's literally like lost boys, kill Wendy. That's like
I just think it was because like Tinkerbell was just being like, oh my god, there's another woman here. I mean, I guess that will always boil down to like a jealousy, like relationship competition kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. You know, like The Bachelor. So Tink is not used to like other women around. Yeah. And so I guess I get that. But I think they could have left that out of this plot entirely because it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't do anything to the plot.
Right.
You just feel bad for fucking Julia Roberts.
Yeah, and I just think they felt bad for her, and they're like, okay, we'll give you this one scene where you get to be big and not act against a green screen the whole time. Like, I don't know. But it's weird. Again,
but
awkward.
then like that weird speech that she gives him at the end where she's like, hey, Peter, you know that place between like when you're awake and when you're dreaming and you can like still remember your dreams? That's where I'll always love you. Like, what the hell does that mean?
Sweet and I were like, get over it. Go out with someone else, Tink. Even though I don't know if there are boy pixies, but
Get a hobby.
right, get a hobby. Why don't you learn to darn socks so some poor bitch doesn't have to do it?
Make yourself useful.
Yeah. But I mean, so yeah, so that's part's weird. I think those are the only love triangles, right? I'm not missing anyone. Oh, also,
Well, his real wife too.
what happened to Moira or to Wendy's daughter? Like, where'd she go? Peter just like skipped over her and was like, she ugly, and like didn't care about her. Like, what?
I bet for the sake of the story, like she just died. She did.
She real did.
Yeah. Because the way they had to do it was they had to make Wendy a certain age, so it would make sense that like she could have told J.M. Barrie the stories. Like, so she had to be like 95. So that, and if this takes place in present day, like it had to have been her granddaughter, not her daughter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a timeline.
I'll
kind of
go.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so back to Hook, back to old Jazz Hook. Why now? Why now, Hook? Why now, Jazz? Why? Sweetie and I
Did
both
he like know Peter was there for some reason? Or, I mean, okay, maybe this makes sense now because we know that Smee had like basically like a dossier of like their life. And you see him at the end being like the weird park sweeper. So he was probably like an agent like on Earth, like creeping on them for years.
And that also explains why everybody gets like pop culture things and why the Lost Boys can breakdance because Smee's bringing back the old hits, you know, from current day.
And does that mean like the creepy window washer that Maggie like says it was that Smee? I always thought it was Hook.
I thought it was Hook too.
Yeah. But maybe it was actually Smee.
Because Smee's not really mean and scary though. So I still think it was Hook. So maybe they were both coming to spy. I don't know. But it is odd that he's like, you know what I miss? Peter Pan. Let's get him back here.
Yeah. It just,
let's steal his kids.
yeah.
I don't know.
That never like made
Or
sense
they
to
were
me
like,
either.
oh, guys, check it out. Peter missed Jack's baseball game again. The time to strike is
telling
hot.
you.
We got to do it. So it's just one of many questions I have. Second, maybe only to my other important question, which I don't remember now. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. Forget it. It's done. It's over. But I had many questions, right, sweetie? And they were like stupid logical questions, which you were like, get over it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're talking about Never Neverland. You have to suspend a lot of
To a
that
point,
kind of
but I
stuff.
still think some things
You
are
can't
weird.
explain everything because then you're going to get in the weeds. Like you have to just kind of be like, okay, like this all fits
well,
together.
I still don't understand why people can just die in Never Neverland. Like that doesn't seem like a thing that happens there.
Well, like a bunch of pirates die.
Who died?
Remember the guy steals a base and then they shoot him?
Oh, I don't remember that. I didn't remember that.
Yeah. I don't think
I just always thought that Never Neverland was a place of like happy thoughts, right? And then, except for the pirates who like ruin everything, and they bring scorpions in barrels, and you're like, why are there scorpions in Never Neverland?
it's called the Boo Box. First of all, and it's a trunk. It's not a barrel.
It was a barrel.
I led you down the wrong path because before that scene, I go, "Oh my God, this is where they put him in the barrel and drop the scorpions in."
Okay,
but
thank
then
God.
it was a trunk.
I knew
so
it was
I'm
your
sorry.
fault. I knew it was your
It was
fault.
basically a treasure chest with like a little door in it,
totes.
and then they would drop scorpions in, and they go, "Boo, boo, Boo Box."
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, okay. So those are my main thoughts.
Okay.
What should we talk about next, sweetie?
Okay, so we did. You already talked about why you think that we don't like this, right? Okay, so let's talk about the use of Robin Williams in what I would say is basically an unfunny role. Till the last like
For
10
most of
minutes,
it, yeah.
Because Robin Williams not always, but generally played men who were people with like an inner child
Who are Peter
inside.
Pans?
Yeah, right.
How ironic.
Exactly. Because he does a dramatic turn, but then can get really silly in like a second, right? So that's always like been his thing. This he's playing really the opposite. So he's the straight man forever, And then he finally gets to let it out when he's Pan, and they fluff up his hair, and he can fly at this point. And as Sweetie said, they slap some eyeliner on him, add some bronzer, put him in the green tights, and all of a sudden he's like zany and, you know, the Robin Williams like we remember. And that, I think, is just, it's not that he like doesn't do good in the role, because like Robin Williams ends up being probably not, I mean, he did some around this time and even before it, but even later on in his career did such great dramatic turns where there really was no comedy, and so it's not that he doesn't do that well, but it just is like, it just doesn't work for me, that beginning person. I don't know if it's not that he's like not believable, but it's just boring. Well, I don't know, like, and also I hate keep using that word,
but you know what it kind of reminds me of is when we had a discussion about kind of those swapping roles. So like your Freaky Friday and your vice versa, right? So you have the older actor who usually has the tougher job to be a kid in an adult's body. Right. And usually what ends up happening is they go over the top with it. And they don't think about like, oh, maybe a kid that is 15 would not act like this way. Whereas the one person who I think really did that successfully was Tom Hanks, who is Steven Spielberg's true muse, I think, and is in most of his movies. And I think that worked because he played it without too much zaniness. There was a real kind of subtlety there that I don't see in this performance.
Because like what we said about, I remember with Vice Versa, with the Judge Nelson, Judge Reinhold, Judge.
Oh man, yeah, I knew that. Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold.
Wait,
yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. I can like see it.
Okay.
What we said about him and what I think about in like the Freaky Friday Jamie Lee Curtis portrayal too. Right. They end up playing the kids as dumb, like the kids, you see the kids as they really are in those movies, and they weren't dummies. So then when they become an adult, they're suddenly like 5-year-olds instead of how they're supposed to be playing at, you know, a 12 and 13-year-old is like pretty adult.
At least you think you're an adult.
Yeah. But even that, the kids as characters, when they're actually them, plays them as like pretty adult. And like the things about all those movies too is that they're going through some pretty adult things, because both those movies are about like, you know, parents that are going through divorce and stuff like that. So those kids are like been around the block, you know, they've seen some trauma. But like, right, exactly. That's what that Tom Hanks portrayal is so good, because it's almost like, it's just like a fine line. Like there's moments where he dips into the kid thing when he gets really scared, and like that I think is so true about how you would be as a kid in adult body, because you're with it, but you're just a kid still. So there's some stuff that's like still gonna like really freak you out, or even like the boob groping scene. Like that's great, right? Because you're like, holy shit, like I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna play it like, yeah. So I agree with you. That is like one of the most successful, if not the most successful, like turn for that.
Right.
Did Robin Williams ever do like a kid in a real like kid in a?
Well, what's Jack about?
Jack is. Yeah, so that is basically the story of that. So remember, he has like an accelerated disease, so he's like in kindergarten, but he looks like he's 45.
Yeah. True.
So we should watch that
and
see if that's
sort
successful.
of Jumanji too, because he is like went into the game as
then I guess
age,
that
but
was,
then we're unclear if he aged. In his
but then
time.
I guess that was pretty successful then, because I thought like that
he
was
did
good.
That way better.
Yeah.
When he's like, "Dad, my dad," and like that. But
So-
I don't know if like the Peter Pan, to me, in at least the Disney version, is not kooky and zany. I think he's just cool. Like,
I don't even think I thought
he
was
more
a
of a
kid
cool
in the
operator.
Disney version.
Me neither. I definitely thought he was like late teens.
I didn't see him as like a 12-year-old like
Here's
at all.
one thing that Peter Pan has that this one doesn't, and that is a cap. And I think it's really important, because one of the biggest annoyances with this movie is Robin Williams' hair. And when they flash back to young Peter, and he looks like a fucking maniac with that hair, it's ridiculous. It's like he put his finger in the light socket and is like, "Whoa, Peter Pan, Peter Pan." And it's just too crazy. So like he really needs that cap to hone it in, you know? I don't know if they were like, well, we'll do everything else except the cap. That's too obvious. But I think it could have helped a lot, in my opinion. But and as I told Sweetie earlier today, I think that you do a disservice to Robin Williams and to the viewers if you have him playing a straight man for an hour and 50 minutes of a comedic movie, of a comedy, and he's a straight man for an hour and 50 minutes of that. That's just, it doesn't work. I mean, he works in Good Will Hunting because that is a drama. Yeah. And he's not supposed to be funny, but he does end up being it because he's a great actor. He is a good actor. I'm not doubting that at all. It's just something about this. It just doesn't work.
I mean, I think it's one of those things too that you're like, okay, like this, you're thinking about this and Peter Pan and that whole story, and that's like probably the first person you would go to. Actually, I guess Tom Hanks was another person they thought to play this role, which is like,
I'd like to see that.
Couldn't have seen like the physical aspect.
Not the physical, but again, like I said,
yeah, that would have been interesting. But other than like, let's say Tom Hanks, but like Robin Williams would be like, you're definitely number one to play that kind of role, as we're saying that this is one he like gravitated towards. And it's interesting that it just like kind of didn't totally work. And I get what you're saying. I don't totally see this as a comedy though. You see this as a comedy?
I mean, I think it's one of those like well, the thing about Steven Spielberg, right, is that I don't think he's ever done a straight comedy. So maybe that's why you're
probably
reacting
the
in
most
that way.
Comedy that he's done.
I think it's a lot, and there's a lot of like not slapstick, but kind of cheesy, like corny kind of things here, which I can't tell if he's like George Lucas, like catering to kids by like putting Ewoks in a movie, like he's putting
or if
these
it's like tongue in cheek, and he knows he's being cheesy and he's just doing it.
I don't know, but I think that overall, this is I'd say it leans more heavily on the comedy side than drama.
Yeah, no, definitely, I would think that, but it's like also like, because of like all the dad issues and the family issues. So
maybe
it's
like
more
all just that. Like a family movie.
Yeah, I would say family movie.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't
which
say
is an unclear genre.
Family adventure. Is that a genre?
Sure. Yeah, it's a new genre. But yeah, okay. So that's that discussion. Cool. Did that. Check.
Okay.
Next.
Who is your favorite lost boy?
My favorite lost boy is the sweet little boy named Pockets, who goes up to, everyone's like, that's not Peter Pan, he's old. And he goes up to Peter and then like touches his face and like looks all in there, and then he like has a sweet smile and he's like, there you are, Peter. And it's so fucking cute. I can't stand it.
That scene's a beautiful, like, classic Steven Spielberg scene.
That was
like,
really good scene.
Super well lit.
Yeah.
They have this great
like,
John Williams
glowing.
like music, like,
and then Peter has like tears in his eyes and he's like, I feel something, but I'm not sure if I can embrace it yet. But it was really good. So I think he's really sweet, and I'd like for him to live in my pocket, which is funny because his name is Pockets.
Yeah.
And just like pull him out whenever I want and be like, can you be cute for a little bit to make me feel better? Thanks. Bye. So yeah, that's mine. Okay. Who's yours?
Lard Bucket. What's his name?
Not that. Shit, I had it. I was like, Tub Butt?
Yeah.
Tubby
Butter?
No, that's not it. Fuck.
Tub of something? Tobias Tubberson?
Butt. Something butt. Right?
Lard. That's why I said lard butt.
It's not lard butt. It's something more nuanced than that.
Okay, so it's the kid who wears the Scottish cap. Anyone?
Bueller.
Thud butt. Oh, he thinned out. Sorry,
I saw that. I was like, oh, he's sweet.
He's only a year older than I am.
Oh my god.
We should be best friends.
Thud butt, call me.
Thud butt is amazing. He's so cute. He wears like this little like what is that Scottish cap called? Oh, it's something. I should know this.
Don't know.
Tam O'Shanter.
Tam
O'Shanter.
The Tam is the Tam the palm.
I don't know.
Palm?
There's a bar in Boston called the Tam. It's awesome. You can like bring food into it, and they have the stiffest mixed drinks you've ever drank.
Constant crossword clue.
Tam O'Shanter. So Yeah, he's adorable, and he gets the sword at the end, so he takes over the reins of.
I missed that.
Yep.
Because Rufio's the dead.
Yep. Rufio, R.I.P. Yeah, he's adorable. Him and Peter have some like great little moments. He's so sweet. Love him to pieces.
He is super sweet. I love him.
Oh, totally.
God, I love him.
Want to play a game?
Oh yeah, I love games.
Okay, so there's a scene where, and I love this scene. So they have this like imaginary dinner scene where, like, to spur on Peter's imagination, they do this game where you basically have to like imagine the food that you're eating and it doesn't like come true until you can imagine you're eating it. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. But before that, Rufio like comes with his little gang. They sit down. They have what is basically like a name calling contest. And they try to think of all like the nastiest names to call people. And Peter is like a real stiff. He's a lawyer. He's an accountant. You know, he works in corporate. He's a yuppie. And he is like no good like call like things to make fun of people with. You know, like what is that called? Like playground, not chant. What is it when you make fun of people? Taunts.
Yep.
So Rufio has like a whole bag of them, and he's so good at it. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. So let's see if we can have like a name calling.
Oh my God, I'm
call
nervous.
off.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. Who starts? Me or you?
I'm going to start because it's my game.
Okay.
I haven't thought of any. I'm just going to
Go. Good. I was gonna say, did you write them down, cheater?
I mean, I can probably steal some from the movie just from like, but you can't repeat any of mine. Ready?
I want to go first.
You can go first.
Okay, but Rufio said fart like 20 times.
Well, no, I mean, you can repeat. You can't repeat any, like, I can't repeat any that you say. So you
Repeat verbs.
No, I mean, no.
Is fart a verb? Farting?
No, farting.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, maybe we could repeat because I don't know how I'm going to remember, like, what the fuck you said. Okay, go.
You said you were going first.
Oh, I thought you wanted to go.
Okay, okay. You're a rat's butt fungus. Do I just say one or do I
No,
go
let's do short
on?
ones and go back and
Okay.
forth. Okay. You're a pus bucket, mucus brain, turd ball face.
You're a baby's poopy diaper baking on a hot summer day in the dumpster.
Good one. You're a broken toenail fungus wart
I
on
use the word fungus.
on my cracked canker sore.
You're a snotty, bloody booger on a cold winter's day stuck in somebody's hand that they shake their mama's hand with.
You're a raccoon's earwax on a snake's what? Snake's broken tailbone poop stain fart.
You're just like you're like dirty Mad Libs. You're just like all the words.
It's kind of fun.
It's hard. I think I won though.
That was good. That was good. We'll let the listeners be the judge.
Tell us who won on Twitter at the Sweetie Club. Okay, now I have a game. It is called "What Would Be Your Happy Thought That Would Make You Fly?"
Good one. That's nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the gross out game.
Okay. My happy thought would be
Happiest things.
probably my cat. Let's not do cats. I feel like we'll both pick that, and that's just going to be like we're not going to go anywhere with that.
Okay, what was the happiest moment of your life not involving cats? Also, you can also think of this question as in Harry Potter world is
Okay.
what would you use to get
Okay.
your
So I really think I had
Patronus
this like
out?
amazing experience when I turned 30. I don't know. Mom and I, Carol and I, went to this trip to Provence, and we cycled around Provence. It was amazing. And on my birthday, I had like I always want my birthday to be like the best day ever, and I try so hard for it. Like I don't let anybody else plan it. I plan it myself because I need control of the situation, because I need it to be like super perfect for my day. I love birthdays so much, and I love my birthday. It's in middle of May. It's like a great time. So I go on this vacation with my mom, and it's like the most perfect day, and we just biked around all day with this like great lunch. And this particular hiking day, like you basically like bike up to the top, and then we just went down this like really, really big hill. And Mom was like terrified. She was like white knuckled the whole way down. I thought it was so fun, and it was just like me going down this hill, but basically like, and you're going pretty fast on a bike going down a hill like that. I don't know. I was probably going like 25 miles an hour. Wind like whipping in my hair, and I was just like, "Yay! It's my birthday! Like I'm 30." I forgot.
Did you hold your arms out like that, like Meg Ryan in
I might
City
have
of
let
Angels?
go for like a second, just because I was like so in the moment, and it was so fun. I will never forget that as long as I live. It was like the best day.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
There, sweetie goes. She's off. So mine definitely is that time that Sweetie and I got to be on Top Chef, and it was just like the happiest. Like reading that email where they were like, "You're invited to the Top Chef kitchen" or whatever. Or they didn't say that, but like just the invitation to be on the show. And Sweetie, I've just never experienced joy quite in that way before. Like it was just really real.
Yeah.
And like I know it's kind of superficial to be like, well, the time I got to go on television, but it was just so exciting because I never win anything.
Right.
Prior to this moment, the only thing I had ever won was a free t-shirt at the Jump Rope Jamboree because they pulled my number 23, and I was like, sweet, I never win. And that was the last time. And then I got to be on Top Chef, bitches.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. So that's definitely my moment.
That was
and,
a great day.
I mean, and then obviously when our niece was born was also a good happy moment. So yeah, I mean, we got lots.
Yeah.
I got lots of happy moments.
We'd be flying
if I
all
need
over
to
the
fly. I'm not like
place.
Peter that's like, oh, I can't think of a happy moment. Oh, when I got my cell phone.
Loser, change your life, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with
totes.
you?
Okay, so now we need to talk about the cameos.
Yes.
Okay, so first off, everyone knows about Phil Collins, which we already mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves to bring up the fact that Phil Collins is in this fucking movie. We know, guys. Let's talk about the less obvious ones, okay? All right. So first, Sweetie goes and reads the trivia, and she discovers that 2 other musicians make cameos in this movie, and they are, Sweetie,
David Crosby from Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young sometimes. Awesome. He is a pirate. We spotted him twice. He actually has a couple lines.
Yeah.
So go David Crosby.
Go Cros.
Good for you. I think you might have fathered Melissa Etheridge's baby. So
Nice.
also
Congrats.
good for you. Good for you and your father. You're a father. I think it was David Crosby. I was confusing with Jerry Garcia.
Sure. It wasn't. He's dead. It's not him.
No, but when did he die? Also, it said in the trivia, not sure if this is true or not, but Jimmy Buffett. I'm not totally clear what Jimmy Buffett actually looks like, but also, like, he was dressed up as a pirate, so, like, who the fuck knows? And apparently, like, he has something that, like, he steals shoes or something.
That's like he's billed as an
so
on
I
IMDb.
remember that scene. We couldn't figure it out. So apparently, Jimmy Buffett's in there.
Yep.
So not wasting away in Margaritaville, he's wasting away on the Jolly Roger. That's the pirate.
Good one. So then we're watching, and Sweetie and I are like, oh, that is not what I thought Jimmy Buffett looked like. I mean, he basically looks like Bob Hoskins.
Okay, he could have been like literally every pirate.
But that's what I told Sweetie when she said that they were both in this. I was like, they literally look like all the pirates. Like, is that what's his, David Crosby? David Crosby?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that him? Is that him? Like, he looks like all of them. So then Sweetie and I are watching, and there's this funny part where Hook like points to a pirate in the crowd and is like, you there. And you think he's pointing at Peter, but he's actually pointing to this other weird pirate with a fake beard on. And you're like, what's going on with that pirate? Why is he weird? So immediately I caught on to the fact that something was amiss. And I go to Sweetie and I go, is that Glenn Close? Like, weird. I'm like, that looks like Glenn Close to me. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's not Glenn Close. It is a pirate. I don't know what you said. You just didn't believe that it was a woman. And you were just like, it's some dude. And I was like, that is a woman. That is Glenn Close. And she did not believe me. So then I'm like, fine. So I go on IMDb and I scroll down. And she's like all the way at the bottom. I keep scrolling. And then who do I land on? Glenn fucking Close. And I show it to Sweetie. And I'm like, boom. Gutless the pirate. Boom, boom.
I mean, it's one of those things that unless you're totally sure, someone could be like, yeah, it's Glenn Close. And you'll be like, that guy looks a lot like Glenn Close, but like, I don't know if that's Glenn
He had like
Close.
a woman's voice.
No, he didn't at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. When
If
she
it
screamed.
was that obvious, you would have already known this.
But I haven't seen this in like 20
Yeah.
years.
You should
so-
have known that it was Glenn Close when
What?
you were 9.
No. No way.
I'm making fun of myself.
No, yeah, it was pretty funny.
It's
and
you
then-
rewatch it, you're like, okay, that's still
Yeah, and then I was like, what
and
other?
she's like really short compared to everybody else, and
yeah,
you can tell it's a fake beard.
Yeah. So you're like, something's weird. And then I'm like, well, who else makes a weird cameo in this movie? Bingo! Carrie Fisher and George Lucas play the people that fly in the air off the bridge when Peter flies off to Neverland,
It's
and
just
some
so
pixie dust
random.
flies.
Did he like run out of people to cast in this?
And like you can't even
Carrie,
tell.
what are you doing today?
It's
Wanna be in this
literally
movie?
it's literally their silhouettes. That could be anybody.
Yeah,
I don't
that's why
believe
I'm
it.
like,
I don't
why
believe
even
it.
have famous
I think
people
he just
do
said that
those?
to like brag. It was weird. Also, wait, what was the other weird thing that we saw? We were like, oh, never mind. Okay. So I think those are the cameos. If you spotted somebody else that we missed, let us know.
Who knows?
Although I will tell you that I have combed IMDb and I think I found everybody.
Yeah.
So good shot.
I
good
mean,
try.
like, why even almost credit those? You're like,
I know.
that seems like stupid in itself.
Well, maybe I'm sure someone put it on there. Okay, so next thing I'd like to talk about. So there's a scene in the beginning where they're doing the Peter Pan play in Maggie's school or whatever. And Peter, being the dickhead that he is, answers his cell phone in the middle of the play whilst he's in the audience, which, as you know today, is a huge no-no. I would like to tell a story of when I was an actress. Back in the day, I was in a summer children's theater production of Alice in Wonderland, and we were performing it at the Academy of Performing Arts, which is kind of a different like audience setup. I would say it's kind of like the actors are kind of in the middle, and the audience is around them on the sides, right? So it's a little unusual in that regard. Because
immersed in
you
into it.
you feel like you're in the audience basically, but you're acting, and if you're the audience, you feel like you're on the stage. And so there we are in the croquet scene of Alice in Wonderland, and we're all having a good time. It's good times. We're doing it for kids and their parents who come to bring their kids and are like, ugh. All of a sudden, the cell phone rings, and a woman answers and is like, hello. And like, all of us obviously are trained actors.
Keep going.
We just kept going. And then this old man like next to her or in the row behind her was like, lady, are you kidding me? we're all like trying not to crack up. And I was the white rabbit, so I was like being silly. And like, it was so funny. I was like, lady, it was classic like tourist on Cape Cod, like such a like, come on, get with it. But I will always remember that, and that's totally what that scene reminded me of. Also want to do a shout out to Toodles, who is a lost boy who we don't get a lot of information on that. He just like left Neverland for no reason.
Yeah, he like came back with Wendy one time and then lived with her.
Or maybe it's because he lost his marbles. So like he literally left his marbles in Neverland, so he couldn't come back, and then it symbolized his brain, and then he turned old. I don't know. But I love Toodles, and I think he's so sweet. And I discovered that he is in Mary Poppins as like the bank, the Mr. Banks's boss at the bank.
Yep.
Whoa, that's confusing.
Whoa.
His son
Say to Mr. Banks.
is that. I know, it's confusing.
And Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
And Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and I love that. Also, Toodles reminds me of, and I was helping my friend Christy watch her children for 2 weeks in the winter, and her daughter Lana was obsessed with this Mickey Mouse show, Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse, whatever, cartoon, whatever. And there's a character in that called Toodles, and they're always like, "Oh, Toodles," and that just reminded me of this. So I hope that Christy's listening, and if she is, hey. Hope you love Toodles as well.
Yeah,
for that
he's
reason.
a really cool character, and I remember that part where like he comes and like gives like Peter this like creepy speech once Peter Hook comes and kidnaps the kids, and he's like, "Got to fly, got to grow. Da da da. Like Hook is back. It's really
It
it's like-
rhymes.
yeah,
It's
it
not-
rhymes. I miss the rhyme, but it's kind of creepy, but like kind of cool. You're like, whoa.
You're like, he's still got something there.
Yeah.
And he like wakes up when Hook comes. There's that big green light and Hook like comes into the house. It's like he's Nana. And my theory is that he is Nana the dog because there's a scene where like he watches Peter flying away and he gets sad that he can't go with him. And so, okay. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to try not to cry, but I can't make any promises. But my favorite / least favorite part of Peter Pan is when Nana the dog, who is one of the fucking greatest characters of all time. I will fight you on this. She is a dog / Nana / nurse.
Yeah.
She brings the kids their
She's Saint
medicine. I think so, but like fluffier.
Yeah.
So it's confusing. So she, oh my God, what's the little boy, the smaller brother?
John.
Is John? Okay, yeah. And he's like, first of all, I love him because he wears pink footy pajamas, and I fucking love that. And he like takes the pixie dust and he's like sprinkles it on Nana, and he's like, "Come on, Nana," because he wants her to come and she wants to come too. But John, because he's a child, doesn't remember that poor Nana is tied up to her doghouse and can't fly after them. So she tries and is excited and then gets pulled back. And she makes what is literally the saddest face I have ever seen in my life, and then waves sadly at the children. And they're like, oh, and nobody even fucking notices. That's the worst part. They don't even notice that she's left behind. What?
I thought he goes, bye, Nana.
Well, it could be that, or is that the scene where like she crashes in the blocks because like the dad falls on the roller skate and slides into the blocks?
Goodbye.
And then all the kids are like,
No.
"Poor Nana."
He waves goodbye, like bye, Nana. Maybe think of poor Nana.
I think she's just making that face. That's like,
Yeah.
"Bye, kids."
It's okay.
Oh my God,
She
it's
has
so
to stay home
upsetting.
and watch the house. They come back. It's not that they're not coming back.
But I do
She
love.
wouldn't have had fun there anyway.
I do appreciate the nods to that original
Yeah.
film, or maybe it's the story. I never read the story, but they like the Nana in this is like Nana 9. It says on the doghouse.
Yep.
That's real
9, they do some stuff with the shadow, the thimble. Yeah,
All
I
great
like
parts.
those little like original story Easter eggs, let's say. Those are great because they're a little bit like, oh, yeah, I know about this. 'Cause, like, everybody knows that story. It's like so classic. Yeah, I've never read like the full book, but everybody knows the story for sure. And it is like deep down, like, I mean, I think some sketchy stuff has come out about that author, J.M. Barrie, over the years, which is a shame. And I hope they're not true. But the story is
They
very
usually
cool.
are.
Yeah. The story was very inventive and very cool.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, have you ever heard of the Hook drinking game? Mm-mm. So we played this in college, and apparently you drink every time somebody says Hook. So at first you're going along, you're like, this is fine. Like, people say Hook once in a while. It's cool. And then you get to the fucking pirate scene, and they're like, Hook, 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 Hook. And it's like, really, guys?
I thought you meant like you were at a party and it was just like everyday life, and you're like,
No.
how many
This
times
is like
people say
this
Hook?
is a legit.
You're watching the movie.
This is a legit drinking game that you play. Like, you play with like Roxanne. Like, this is what you play with Hook. So my friends and I and Izzy and
Wait,
and
what's
probably
the
our
one
friend
with Roxanne?
you drink one. You could like split into 2 teams. One team drinks every time they say Roxanne. Another drinks every time they say Red Light. So it's again like this, where you're like, this isn't
With
so
the
bad.
song?
Yeah, you play the song, and then you take like a drink or a shot every time they say that. So obviously, once it gets going, it's like Roxanne. You put the whole time. So it's like back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, it gets crazy. But you know, good times.
Roxanne,
Okay. Yeah, there she goes. She's off.
just taking
See
shots
you
over
later.
here.
So yeah, those are the things I want to talk about.
Very cool. I thought you were like talking about like Edward 40 Cans, and I'm like, I've played that
Also
game.
a drinking game, but no, these are the ones 2 movies or songs.
Wow, that's very Disney drinky, gamey.
Disney? Why?
It's to this movie?
Yes, not Peter Pan. It's Hook. Or the pirates are chanting Hook.
Makes sense.
Oh my God, what's with you? Get a grip.
I'm tired. It's late.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I think this was, I mean, I'm glad we watched this. I hope, you know, we didn't wreck your dreams. Again, you know, much appreciation for this film. Not totally our cup of tea, but glad to talk about it. Glad to watch it. Felt good about it. Miss you, Robin Williams. Every day, every second. There's a new biography about him I want to read.
Cool.
It's coming out in May, I think, or April.
Excellent.
Look for it. Got some good,
Cool.
stuff about poor little Robbie.
Yeah. But and just don't be too mean to us. Don't stop listening to us.
People never are.
I know. I just feel sad about. I just feel worried.
We can't like everything.
Again, people asked us to review this a lot, and we were always like, "We'll watch that eventually."
We did it.
So we did it. So did that. But yeah, so good times, guys. But yeah, I guess that's it for us. Please follow us on Twitter to yell at us or whatever. I'll just block you. No, I'm just kidding. At the Sweetie Club is where you can find us there, or you can also find us on Instagram and bug Sweetie instead at Large Marge Sent Us.
Bug me.
Take our polls. They're important and help
Yeah,
us determine which
people.
movie we want to watch.
Take the polls.
/ not, because actually Dumb and Dumber won that poll.
We weren't supposed to tell.
Well, it's only because I voted. I was like the last person to vote probably, and I picked Dumb and Dumber, which because obviously I
Well, we're doing that next anyway. So it
But
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
we're doing them both, so don't worry. Don't fret. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us and being awesome. We love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.